Hello and namaskar viewers, I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to the Tax Talk Show right here on ITV Gold. This weekly show which we started at the beginning of the tax season. Now actually we're coming at the end of the tax season of course, and the end of the Tax Talk Show as well. So this is actually the grand finale of the Tax Talk season right here on ITV Gold, but there is more coming your way which I will definitely let you know at the end of the show. Now let's talk about taxes. Throughout the season, we've been guided, we've been advised, and we have been suggested about all kinds of taxes, personal taxes, corporate taxes, what are the deductions, what should we do, what should we not do for small businesses, big businesses, and everything that we wanted to know about the taxes we have come to know courtesy of Mr. A.J. Kumar of Sai CPA Services, a full-fledged accounting firm located right here in state of New Jersey with 2 locations. They can be reached at 908-380-6876, or you can visit their website saicpaservices.com. Now for any tax matter, personal matter, or even a corporate, if you are starting a business or if you have already started a business and then you need a consultation, you need some advice, you can reach out to Sai CPA Services. So here we are. I'd like to welcome Mr. A.J. Kumar once again to the show. A.J., good to see you.
It's my pleasure, Sanjeev. Thank you.
You look much relaxed.
Absolutely. It's after the tax season.
All right, so we are at the end of April 2022. Tax season ended actually in a way on April 18, 2022.
Yes.
But the people who have filed extension, they have till October 18th. So they have
October
exactly
15th, yes.
exactly 6 months, right?
Absolutely.
For the people who have filed taxes. So A.J. Kumar, I thought in this last episode of this year's Tax Talk Show season, why don't we talk about tax season at a glance?
Absolutely.
That's
a great idea.
Let give our viewers an idea how many tax returns were filed, how many were audited, how did the refund process take place, how much was a refund give out between this year and the last year. So some interesting facts, let's share it with our viewers.
It'll be our pleasure. Absolutely. It's been a great pleasure to bring our viewers all the information for the individual taxes, for the business taxes, for the corporate structure, anything. And we have tried very hard to sum up the information in a small episode, in 20-25 minutes episode. And we are here to help. If there is any question, please do not hesitate to contact us. In this episode, we'll try to sum up the season for you. We'll, as Sanjeev ji suggested,
Yes.
we'll try to bring up the information, how many taxes were filed,
Correct.
what were the refunds typically, how long does it take to get the refund, how many business taxes, how does the IRS works, how many employees in the IRS, season at a glance for you.
And the most important question being asked in today's day and age, where is my refund?
Where is my refund? Absolutely, absolutely.
So now let's begin with the number of tax returns filed this year. When I say this year, meaning for the year 2021 versus 2020.
So there are more tax returns filed for 2021, including extensions, than what we had in the previous year. This year, and it's typically the same routine. Every year, with the population, general population growing up, more people fall into the taxable range as opposed to the previous year. In 2021, IRS estimates about 110 million taxes were filed in total. Out of 110 million taxes, almost 50%, give or take 45 million taxes were the business taxes, and about give or take 60-65 million taxes were the personal taxes.
Right.
When we say business taxes, Sanjeev ji, we are including the corporate taxes, the LLC, the S Corp taxes that are filed separately. If you have a Schedule C LLC, that goes with the personal tax, and that's included in the personal tax return.
Correct.
So if you have a business on a Schedule C, 100% owned by you, IRS does not count that as a separate return. IRS will include that number into the personal tax return.
Okay, so about 110 million tax returns been filed so far. Now the extension, many people file for an extension.
Absolutely. A lot of
October
people
18
files.
is the extension due. Based upon your experience of many years, what do you think what that number will be? It will be obvious in the millions, but approximately.
Well, a lot of people file extension. Millions of extensions are filed. But comparatively speaking, not as many people filed extension. Just because a lot of people, especially the individual tax filers, are expecting to get refund from IRS.
Okay.
So if you are getting refund and you are expecting refund, people want the refund to come sooner than later. So even though the extensions are filed, but there are not as many comparatively speaking.
So let's say maybe about half of what's been filed so far, maybe?
Much less.
Much less?
Yes.
Okay. So, for example, let's use about half of it, right?
Sure.
So at the end of the year, it will be roughly about 150 million tax returns.
Right, absolutely.
US population is about 350 million. According to census data, it could be, a few millions here and there.
Okay.
So I think it's in a parallel because that's a U.S. population, and obviously one family could have 4 people, 2 people, 5 people, 6 people, whatever it is, and then children also.
Absolutely.
So it does make sense. I think halfway through.
I think it does.
Halfway through of the population.
Especially, let's say, in your example, if one family has 4 people in the family, they are filing one tax return.
Correct, exactly. And then the kids are there and everybody. So that's good. And that's very interesting. One of the most interesting pieces of information for you viewers. Now let's move on. Returns filed is basically same as returns processed?
Yes, it's a matter of timing. Return processed are the returns that have already been processed, or the refund has been issued, or the liability has been computed, as opposed to I have filed the return but I have not received the refund. Especially for the paper filers, especially for the amendments, the return processing date could be 4 to 6 weeks later than the return filed date.
Okay, fine. Out of that, let's figure it out. Is there a way that you can tell us how many tax returns were filed by the professional CPAs like you, tax preparers, and how many were filed by individual on their own using their softwares?
Well, there are a lot of softwares in the market, and there are a lot of practitioners in the market. So when we say practitioner, it doesn't have to be a CPA. You don't really have to have a CPA degree to be filing somebody else's tax return. So there are EAs, there are other designations like CPAs who are allowed to file taxes on clients' behalf with the IRS. So in total, more than half, almost about 55% taxes are filed by the practitioners, but as opposed to the individuals themselves. You also have to consider some EAs, some other designations. People, they don't use their name on the tax return. So they will prepare the tax return for a client, which is not a good practice, which we don't advocate. If you are hiring somebody to file your taxes, make sure the person who is filing the taxes is putting their name, their license number on the tax return. So they are taking the responsibility for the computation part, if not the receipt part, for your tax return. But there are a lot of practitioners in the market who don't put
Don't
their name.
have license now.
They don't have the license, and they
yes.
don't want to take the chances.
Correct.
They don't put their name. They will, even though the paid preparer is preparing the taxes, they will put the client's name as the person who prepared the return, which is not a good practice. So we want our viewers to understand, we want our viewers to know, if you are paying somebody to prepare your taxes, make sure their name is listed as a preparer on your tax return.
Well, the reason you're paying, obviously, you're saying that you take responsibility of what you filed. You're just going to show me the numbers and I'm going to sign it at the bottom, regardless of getting a refund or to pay to IRS. But they should stand up to their own responsibilities for what numbers that they put in. So that's
Absolutely.
the key thing.
I mean, the preparer has certain responsibility about the computation, the calculation part of it. That's the technical know-how.
Correct.
The taxpayer has the responsibility about the receipts, the expense deduction as what's being claimed is taxpayer's responsibility. How is it computed is typically the preparer's responsibility.
Correct. In reference to that, I want to let viewers know, AJ Kumar, is that in reference to that, in the second half, after the break, we're going to talk about why you should have a CPA, an experienced CPA who is knowledgeable in all the tax laws and matters, who not only can help you filing taxes, but also can make sure that how you can get maximum refund and make sure your liabilities are exactly explained on the tax return. So that way, chances are that your tax return will not be audited and you can sleep properly. We're going to talk about that in the second half. Now, let's talk about interesting stuff. Refunds. I read it somewhere that this year, meaning for the year 2021 taxes, refunds were issued at a very rapid pace than compared to 2020.
Well, that's what the guideline IRS had. If you have the right return, then try to issue the refund as soon as possible. So in many cases, the refunds were issued in less than 3 weeks. IRS guidelines are 3 to 6 weeks. If you had economic stimulus payment, if you had the advanced child tax credit, these are the two factors that the IRS is scrutinizing. In those cases, the refund can be delayed. But if you have no children and you did not get the economic stimulus payment, there is absolutely no reason for your refund to be delayed. But if your refund is delayed, if you have still not received the refund, please go to IRS website, irs.gov, click on the button, where is my refund, put in your social security number, put in the expected refund, and you can easily see when the refund was issued or when the refund is going to be issued.
Okay, interesting. Now, talk about refunds. The total amount of refunds gave out, 110 million that's the number of the 110 million is the number of the tax returns filed so far for this year. Let's give our viewers the refund amount. How much refund has been
So
issued?
the refund amount increases every year. This year, for 2021, IRS is expecting that they have issued roughly, give or take, 240 billion, not million, $240 billion in refund. And this does not include the people who ended up filing the extension or who did not file the tax return. A lot of people don't know that by filing the tax return, they can get the refund. A lot of people assume that they don't have enough income, so they don't need to file the tax return. If you have smaller income, if you have lower income, all the more reasons for you to file the tax return so you can qualify for a larger refund. I mean, IRS has several policies in place. EIC, economic stimulus payment, is there, earned income credit is there, advanced child tax credit is there. There are a lot of benefits that the government gives to people who file taxes. So if you have lower income, especially if you have lower income, it's very important for you to file the tax returns.
Very good. Yeah, if you have lower income or higher income, to file tax return is important. 240 billion.
Absolutely.
I read it somewhere for the year 2020, the total amount of refund issued was 220 billion.
That's how it works. On an average, the number of tax returns that were filed are about 10% higher than the previous year. And similarly, the refund is increasing by 10%. 220 billion is increasing to roughly 240 billion dollars this year.
All right, here's an interesting question. What about the tax returns being audited? Just quickly, compared to the year 2020 and now 2021, what can you share it with us? What percentage of the tax returns are chances to be audited?
Well, the audit rate has been going down, not up. So the refund has been increasing. The number of tax returns have been increasing, but the audit rate from a percentage perspective, IRS has been under strong pressure. IRS does not have enough employees to audit a lot of returns. So the audit rate, percentage-wise, has been going down.
Chalo, that's a good news. Okay. With that note, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, viewers, there is a really important information coming your way. Why should you hire CPAs to do your taxes, personal or corporate? So please stay with us. Welcome back to the Tax Talk Show right here on ITV Gold. And for this week, the topic is season at a glance. Tax season has ended. But Mr. AJ Kumar of Science CPA Services has been giving out information on how many tax returns were filed, processed, and who filed the tax return, meaning how many tax returns were filed by the tax professionals and how many were filed by the individuals and how much refund was issued. These are very interesting facts, and as a taxpayer you should really know about that, because every year the number of returns are increasing as well as the refund, the amount of refund is also increasing substantially. So that's interesting information. Now, when you do your taxes, a lot of people think it's easy to do your taxes, but it's not that easy, obviously, because you have not followed up with all the tax changes throughout the year. And that's why you need to have a professional. That's why you need to have an experienced CPA like Mr. AJ Kumar or Science CPA Services, because throughout the year they follow the changes in the tax rules and deductions, what's there, what's not there. Now, there are certain reasons why you should have an experienced CPA. So let's talk about that with AJ Kumar. Number one reason why you think that people should have an experienced CPA to do their returns?
Well, anything that you do, Sanjeev ji, every day, you get good at it.
Yes.
So a good CPA spends more time in learning about the rules, the regulations, than actually doing the work.
Good point.
The work is done only for 3 months,
Yes.
4 months.
Good point.
The remaining 8 months are spent in learning about how it needs to be done.
Yeah.
So the number one reason that our viewers should consider hiring a practitioner is not about the refund, it's about getting it done right. There is not enough money in the world to be messing up with the IRS. So make sure it's done right. And how do you make sure it's done right? By hiring somebody who does it every day, who has been doing it for years. Would you try to fix your own plumbing? Would you try to fix your own electrical connection? Why would you try to go to a software, try to do something yourself, and then create problem for yourself? And please understand, if you don't claim the right benefit, IRS is not going to come back to you, hey, you missed this deduction, here is your money. If you don't claim enough deduction, they don't send you the notice. But if you claim more than what you were supposed to claim, you will get the notice that you owe this much money with this interest and this penalty. So it's not about getting the right refund only, it's also about making sure it's done right. So you don't have anything coming back to you and haunt you. IRS has 6 years after you file the return to come back to you, and they will charge you the 6 years of interest and penalties. You can't say, hey, you came back to me after 3 years. Why are you charging me penalty for 3 years? That's not an excuse. You make a mistake, and if it's a material mistake, if you missed something large, they can come back to you forever. Then the 6 years statute does not apply to you. So it's very important to use somebody who knows what they are doing.
Correct.
When it comes to the tax filing.
Okay, interesting. Now, a lot of people think, CPA and tax professionals just to do the taxes. They think, oh, it's a taxes, you just put in a number, what amount, what money I made in a year through 1099 W-2, and what are my deductions and blah, 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 done. Such is not the case, AJ Kumar, and I really want you to tell the viewers and share with us, what are the other things that CPA do other than the taxes when the tax return is filed?
Great question, Sanjeevji. Let's divide this question into 2 parts.
Please.
For the individual taxpayer and for the business
Correct.
taxpayer.
Yes.
So for the individual taxpayer, a lot of people tend to assume what's there to be done. Put in the numbers and we are done. The system or the software is computing the tax liability. But please remember, it's not about what's the refund. It's all about understanding. Why do you owe what you owe? Why are you getting what you're getting? And then planning ahead. During the year, if you have somebody who knows what they are doing, not only they will help you stay on the right side of the law, they will get you the maximum refund legally possible. They will also help you understand why the liability is there. What are the new rules? More importantly, what can you do going forward to make a difference to your tax liability? If you come on the business side, a good practitioner can help you decide what type of business structure should be there. Say, for example, S corporation do not pay self-employment taxes. LLC pays as much as 15.3% additional on top of the income tax that you pay. Self-employment taxes. So a good practitioner can help you decide what type of business makes sense in your case. A good practitioner will know all the rules, the policies, the process, the deduction. As we mentioned earlier, if you pay more than what you're supposed to pay, IRS does not come back to you and say, here is your additional money. They don't. So the onus, the responsibility remains on the taxpayer to know all the rules. Do you have enough time to understand everything? All about the taxes. If you don't, hire a CPA. The CPA, when they are doing the taxes, they will also help you understand if you can put some money into your own retirement account to defer the taxes or to save the taxes. In your case, does it make sense to invest into IRA, 401k, SAP IRA, lot of other options. They will also help you understand, especially if you are a business tax client, what can you do in your situation? How do you grow the business? What other businesses are doing that are in your situation? So it will help you understand, learn a lot about your business, the strategic planning, the wealth planning that goes hand in hand when you are doing the taxes, especially if you are a small business client.
Absolutely, very well said. So, what you're trying to say is that obviously CPA does a lot of work.
Absolutely.
From the first page of the tax return till the last page of the tax return, and here we're talking federal tax return and the state tax return.
Absolutely.
So instead of going to a tax preparer who's not CPA, who doesn't have a license, and then you think you just want to get it done just by spending short amount of money, but then you don't realize that you are basically setting yourself in a situation where your tax return can be audited, and that tax preparer's tax return can be very costly to you. So with the little fee that you're paying to CPA, but basically you're giving everything to CPA that take care of it. If audit comes, CPA will stand by you, CPA will take care of it, and the CPA will guide you from day one, like you said, that what's to put in a retirement, is your deduction okay, you can do this, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. So these are the things that you should really keep it in mind. And the other thing is, every year tax laws are getting more complicated.
More and more complicated.
And it's really difficult for a single person just to follow on everything. And especially if you're a homeowner, which we know now a large number of individuals own a home, you have to itemize the deductions. And you want to make sure that you don't miss out, and you want to make sure that all the details are filed. And that's why you need to have an experienced CPA. Mr. AJ Kumar definitely fits in that category when it comes to experienced CPA. With having over 25, 30 years of experience in the personal tax returns as well as corporate tax returns. He's got the clientele, large amount of clientele in the personal tax returns, as well as a very well-known businesses. They've been following him for many years. Why? Because him and his full-fledged staff of 30 people, including CPAs in his staff, they do their job at the finest level possible. 2 locations in the state of New Jersey, and they can easily be reached at 908-380-6876. No matter where you are, a Zoom phone call or FaceTime is always possible. And as you know, nowadays, that has become very common. And through emails and phone calls, everything and anything can be solved. But keep in mind that, or even if you are unhappy with the CPA that you have had now or for many years, and you think that you're not getting the right amount of refund or advice, because CPA gives you advice, and that's why you need to have CPA who gives you right advice, you can reach out to Mr. AJ Kumar of Science CPA Services. Now here's one more thing I want to let viewers know, that in case if anybody is wondering where is their tax refund,
absolutely,
they can go to irs.gov.
irs.gov and click on the button, where is my refund? And then you just have to put in your social security number and expected refund amount, and you will get when the refund was issued or when the refund is going to be issued. I want to remind one more thing about the taxes. The right time, we get this question all the time, what's the right time to be switching the account? And I have been using the same accountant for 30 years. So how do I switch? Is it safe to switch? So all CPAs, when you move from one CPA to another CPA, we all have the fiduciary duty to the client. Nobody can disclose or harm the client. Nobody can disclose your information without your prior consent. So the best time to switch the CPA is right after the season. You don't want to be switching the CPA in September, October. It's too close to the extension deadline. You don't want to be switching the CPA between January to March, even though that's the tax filing time. For a business tax client, summertime is the best time to be switching the CPA. You want the new CPA to have enough time, few months in the year, to do the bookkeeping, to learn the payroll, to do the extra planning.
To study their own personal finances.
Absolutely.
Overall.
Absolutely.
Yes,
a lot of planning can be done around your financials if the bookkeeping is done on time. So you get the financials, you know how much profit is there, you can pay some estimated taxes, you can implement some 401k plan, some IRA plans, some 529 plans, some healthcare plans before the year end. That can only be done before the year end. When you try to switch the CPA in January, February, March, it's just too late for the last year.
CPAs are busy, and even though they would like to help you out, but they won't be able to help you out because of time constraints.
Absolutely.
But you know what's the right time to switch your CPA? The right time to switch your CPA is as soon as this show ends. You should call Mr. AJ Kumar or Science CPA Services. It's just a suggestion, but you do your best, you do your homework, you are one of the intelligent viewers, and you'll make the right decision. So when you file your this year's taxes, 2022 taxes, or even if you have an extension file on your own, make sure that you contact Mr. AJ Kumar or Science CPA Services. With that note, we come to an end of the show, Season at a Glance. But I want to add one more thing here, that we're taking a short break, but pretty soon, come July or August, we're going to be starting a show which is not entirely tax show, but the tax angle will be in that show. That's a very exciting show. It's a new concept, and we're going to be bringing that to you sometime starting in August of this year. So do look out for that show on ITV Gold. Meantime, on behalf of everybody, I want to thank Mr. AJ Kumar of Science CPA Services for their every week guidance and suggestions. Sir, thank you so very much. And we look forward to hear from you about other stuff that is going to be coming up in a brand new show.
It will be my pleasure.
In August, right here on your favorite channel, ITV Gold. I am Sanjeev Pandya, wishing you all happy and fun summer ahead. Enjoy your life, and when you come back, we're going to give you a lot more good information, and we're going to talk about taxes as well. So long.